Chain Drug Review and Mass Market Retailers Video Forum. Brought to you by the Emerson Group.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeffrey Wolt, Editor-in-Chief of Chain Drug Review and Mass Market Retailers. Welcome to our video forum. Today, we're pleased to have as our guest Joe DePinto, Head of Cell, Gene, and Advanced Therapies at McKesson, and the leader of its new InspiroGene division. Joe, good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. Appreciate it.
McKesson's been a leader in pharmaceutical distribution for a long time, and you guys have always kept pace with advances in medicine. What motivated you to actually start this separate division?
You know, McKesson's had a 200-year strong legacy of bringing innovative products to patients. And as we've looked at the InspiroGene offering for cell and gene therapy, this is nothing new, right? We've been at this for quite some time, multiple years in the making. And the market's at a bit of a tipping point where we're starting to see a lot of activity here, and a dedicated vertical really focusing the core assets of distribution and logistics, as well as patient access that McKesson has available, all around cell and gene focus for our manufacturers as well as providers and payers seemed like a good thing to do at this point in time. The timing was right as the market continues to grow, and we're excited to launch InspiroGene and to be out there meeting the needs of patients so they get more access to these groundbreaking therapeutics.
Maybe you could expand a little bit on the role that you see InspiroGene playing in the marketplace.
When we think about the cell and gene marketplace and the biopharmaceutical manufacturers that are developing these products, it's unbelievably exciting to see the science evolve from the clinical to the commercial. And there's more and more of these launches happening on a regular basis. And these products enter into a value chain that is complex and not typically linear. And with that, they need to navigate the value chain with unique solutions. And the beauty of McKesson is we have great assets to help them with that. And what InspiroGene does is it takes a look at how to best position those assets from a cell and gene perspective. So it allows us to deploy the resources we have in services and solutions so that the manufacturers can optimize the experience in the value chain so that all these patients can get the right product at the right time. And that's really important, especially with the rare disease populations and the critically ill patients that need these products.
And will these products be incorporated into the broader pharmaceutical supply chain, or will they really run on a separate track?
You know, when you think about cell and gene therapy, or you've seen a cell and gene therapy, you've seen one cell or gene therapy. They act quite differently. And for the most part, the complexity really necessitates an individual view of this, right? Understanding the product journey, the patient journey, and the reimbursement journey. And we take it one product at a time in that view. So it's highly dependent on the type of product, what they will utilize, what resources and what assets within McKesson's vast array of distribution, logistics, and patient access resources they use. So we take it one product at a time as we look at how to best optimize the supply chain and the value chain delivery of these products. I don't know that it'll ever be sort of a traditional model, though. I think it'll always be a bit more configured to the individual needs of those products.
Mm-hmm. You guys are also offering precision dispensing and patient management. Maybe you could just expand a little bit on those two things and tell us what those services entail.
You know, when we think about the cell and gene therapy products, the market access choices are vast. They can use our third-party logistics offering. They can use our specialty distribution or our specialty pharmacy, which is biologics. And within biologics, we've built a cell and gene therapy specific hub. And that would look at benefit verification, benefit approval, case management, coordination of care. And that's where all that fits in, right? Making sure that that patient, we're helping to navigate the treatment of that patient whether it's given at a center of excellence or a community-based hospital, we're coordinating that care for the patient. And that's where that component fits in as we think about navigating the cell and gene landscape for the patient.
Mm-hmm. You've talked a couple of times, referred to the complexity of these cell and gene therapies. Is there a role for community pharmacy in the distribution and care of patients in this sector?
The community pharmacy has always been core to healthcare delivery for a guy like me growing up in this industry. And the community pharmacist is very trusted in the delivery of care. And typically in answering questions and ancillary products, additional supportive care products are always something that the community pharmacy will deliver. What we're seeing the delivery of these products predominantly in the academic medical centers in the United States. We actually just published the 2024 McKesson Cell and Gene Therapy Report. We did primary market research, secondary market research we pulled, and we looked at the treatment centers in the United States and where predominantly cell and gene therapies were being delivered. And it comes up to about 500 academic type centers that typical cell and gene therapies are delivered. But there are treatment deserts out there because these are in predominantly metropolitan geographic areas. So they're really going to need the community pharmacist to help advise as well as coach these patients along that path. But the delivery of care will predominantly be in these centers, whether that's an academic center or a community-based hospital, which we see that migrating to. So there's so much activity in the space, quite frankly, these academic hospitals are stacked to the brim with patients. Mm-hmm. And that migration needs to occur so that more of these patients can have access to these groundbreaking therapeutic interventions.
Mm-hmm. So pharmacies potentially could play a monitoring role and an advisory role primarily is what you foresee.
Yeah, I think in the short term, yes. But you never know. As the science continues to evolve, we always look at it product by product.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the report that you guys have just recently issued. What other findings caught your eye in that research?
You know, we're really excited about that report. It's the first of its kind. And what we really wanted to do is we wanted to set up with some primary market research, some of the data of where the space is evolving from clinical to commercial. And what really excites me is some of the outcomes show that with cell and gene therapy, clearly the surveyed oncologists that we surveyed 124, they see potential for better outcomes with cell and gene therapy. We also see growing pipelines in the biopharma companies for products that are not only oncology or hematology or rare disease based, but more moving into larger patient populations like autoimmune disease, neurologic disorders, cardiovascular disorders. And the other component we've already discussed is that care is moving into the community. This report for me was really important because we just didn't want to bring out the challenges. We wanted to bring forward some potential solutions as well. And we invited some subject matter experts to talk about how, as an industry, do we overcome these challenges so these products can scale and we can deliver them in an industrialized, consistent fashion. Mm-hmm. So it's an exciting piece. We hope to update this on a yearly basis with, again, new primary research, pulling secondary data sets, and continuing to monitor where the sites of care in the United States are delivering cell and gene therapy so we can minimize those care deserts.
No, it's a very interesting report. I would recommend it to the healthcare providers in our audience. Couple final questions for you, Joe. Patient access is always a concern, and we talked a little bit about the limited number of sites where these treatments are being delivered right now. Cost, of course, is another major concern when it comes to cell and gene therapies. How hard is it going to be to get to a position of health equity with these type of products?
You know, the space continues to evolve. The science is complex. And there's no magic bullet to fix the access issue here. There's just no magic bullet. I believe that it's going to take a combination of how do we further understand the connectivity with the payers as well as the value chain to navigate for these patients the ability to get access to these products. Sometimes these products are delivered in one-time doses, but the benefit is seen over a longer period. That doesn't set up nicely for the US healthcare payer system, right? So we have to help manage that. And interestingly enough, the respondents in the survey felt that innovative payment models, for the most part, would be a good opportunity to address that. Actually, close to 80% of the respondents felt like that would be a viable alternative to be explored by the ecosystem as a whole. It's not just on the manufacturers, it's on the manufacturers, the payers, and the providers to address this. And as we think about navigating the value chain, we have to look at where the barriers or the challenges exist and take those barriers away by having transparency in the delivery of these products, because they tend to be delivered in a controlled setting by a temperature control, whether that's cryo or fast frozen, and they typically have to be delivered in a fashion where they're not shaken or tilted in any way to degrade the cells that have been manipulated.
In light of everything that we've talked about today, how do you view the product pipeline and the future of cell and gene therapies in the broader healthcare mix?
You know, that's what excites me the most, actually. I am very scientifically curious guy. I always have been, and I've been blessed to be in this industry for 30 plus years, and I've seen unbelievable scientific breakthroughs. But when I look at the clinical outcomes with cell and gene therapy and what have been very difficult to treat disease areas, that excites me. So it started out in oncology and hematology and later lines of therapy. Now we're moving up to earlier lines of therapy where a larger total available patient pool is available. And that's exciting. But the real excitement is when we're looking at autoimmune diseases, lupus, Parkinson's disorder. I was recently at a conference that talked about Parkinson's disease and being treated there. And the convergence of cell and gene therapies as well as medical interventions together to fight some really debilitating diseases. That scientific advance really excites me. And I think it also will address a larger patient population. That's really the critical need for InspiroGene at McKesson to be able to help demystify some of the challenges in the value chain and how we can be an ally to our manufacturer partners, our provider partners, as well as our payer partners.
Yeah, well, InspiroGene is doing some important work, and it will be interesting to see how you guys forge ahead in the months and years ahead. So thanks for taking the time to talk with us, Joe. It's been fantastic.
I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.